Welcome back, learner, to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So, usually, gravity pulls things down, light travels at a constant speed.
Right, it's very predictable.
Yeah, a physicist just points at an equation on a chalkboard and says, there it is, that's the law. It's mathematical, it's clean.
Very clean.
But what happens when the universe's ultimate auditors, like interdimensional cyborgs, literally built to enforce the laws of physics land on a planet where physics is treated like a mere suggestion?
That is the exact setup we're looking at today.
Right. Today we are dissecting this incredibly dense, massive stack of sci-fi and fantasy source material. It's centered around a world called Ehyptia.
And Ehyptia is fascinating because it's governed by a programmable, reality-bending force called Mijik.
Yeah, Mijik with an E and a J. And it's ruled by this ambitious pharaoh named Akhenaten.
But we aren't here for, a standard fantasy breakdown.
No, definitely not. We are hyper-focusing on an extra-universal threat. We're tracking a faction known as the Dreadknights.
The Cosmic Enforcers.
Exactly. They arrived to shut down a magical anomaly, only to face, a massive internal betrayal.
Brutal cybernetic warfare, too.
Oh, absolutely brutal. And a tragic revelation about the loss of their own cosmic creativity. Okay, let's unpack this.
The contrast here is what makes this material so compelling.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we are dealing with an ancient mythological society colliding head-on with hard metaphysical science fiction.
Right.
The fundamental rules of reality are actively being contested.
So let's jump straight into the catalyst. Akhenaten, this Golden King of Ehyptia, he has an inner circle of supreme occultists.
Working down in the catacombs beneath his palace. Yeah.
Right. And they are doing something that, in the grand cosmic architecture, is essentially the equivalent of pulling a multiversal fire alarm.
A massive alarm.
They are sustaining a portal called the Nexus Window. And this isn't just like a doorway to the next town.
No, it's a tear through the barrier of worlds.
Yeah. They're peering into a non-physical dimension they call the Black Sun.
Which is a huge deal.
So why does looking into this specific dimension trigger such a massive, instantaneous response from these cosmic auditors?
Well, because it's not just an act of observation. It's an act of localized destabilization.
Okay, break that down for me.
Think of the universe, the verse, as the Dreadnoughts call it, as a rigidly coded software program.
Like a giant operating system.
Exactly. And the Dreadnoughts belong to a multiversal hive mind known as network.
Right.
Their entire function is to ensure the software runs without glitches.
So they're the IT department.
The ultimate lethal IT department. When Akhenaten's occultists open the Nexus window, they aren't just looking at the code.
What are they doing?
They are actively introducing an open source, unverified line of data, which is Mijik, into the base reality of their planet.
Oh, wow. So they're basically downloading unauthorized software.
Right. Looking into the Black Sun, which represents pure, unformed, non-physical potential, threatens to rewrite the local physics entirely.
And Network doesn't like that.
Network detects this as an existential threat to the structural integrity of that entire sector.
Which brings down the Dreadnoughts. And I gotta say, the visual of their arrival is deeply unsettling.
It really is.
They don't fly in on sleek, aerodynamic starships like you'd expect.
No. The sky above the Pharaoh's marble court just distorts.
Yeah, these apparitions appear as smothered clouds of frequency. And then they solidify into these ovular spheres.
And the text describes their exterior as a mirror-like coat ingrained with undefined streaks.
And pixelated blackness, which is such a wild image, it actively deflects the local light.
Right, it sounds less like a physical ship and more like a localized rendering error in reality.
That's exactly it, a rendering error.
And that's a highly accurate way to visualize it. Their vessels are designed to be completely frictionless.
Because they defy the atmosphere.
Exactly. They do not acknowledge the atmosphere's right to govern them.
That is so arrogant. I love it.
They impose their own physical laws on the airspace. So when they land in Akhenaten's inner sanctum, it's a statement of absolute, unyielding dominance.
Then the entities actually emerge from the ships, the Dreadnoughts themselves.
Yeah.
And there are no little green men here.
Definitely not.
These are tall, horrific geometric shadows. They glide out, completely bathed in colorful, oscillating lights with, no visible source.
It's very ominous.
And Ambassador Andros is at the center, flanked by 2 escorts. When he speaks, his voice is described as hollow, mechanized, and watered down.
Right.
And he immediately drops an ultimatum on the pharaoh. He categorizes the Nexus window as Omega Status 6 technology.
Which is strictly prohibited.
Yeah, prohibited for corporeal life forms below the fourth sector of biological awareness. He demands they shut it down immediately.
The terminology there reveals the entire operating philosophy of network.
I want to stop right there on that terminology, actually. Fourth sector of biological awareness. What does that actually mean?
Oh.
Are we talking about basic tool use or something like quantum consciousness?
It's a scale of existential impact.
Okay.
In network's bureaucratic classification, biological awareness isn't just about intelligence.
Then what's it about?
It's about a species' capacity to alter the fundamental constants of the realverse.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Sectors 1 through 3 likely encompass civilizations that manipulate standard matter. Building cities, splitting the atom, even basic space travel.
Standard sci-fi stuff.
Exactly. But the fourth sector marks the threshold where a species begins manipulating the underlying string theory or metaphysical code of reality.
So they're hacking the universe.
Right. Andros is essentially telling Akhenaten, your species hasn't passed the requisite evolutionary background checks to handle reality-altering tools.
You are a toddler holding a blowtorch.
Exactly that.
And Akhenaten's reaction is incredible. I mean, he is a god king. He has conquered his world, overthrown dynasties, and bends the fabric of reality to his will.
He's not used to being told no.
Right. Yet cosmic middle management just showed up to tell him he doesn't have the proper permits.
But he doesn't attack.
No. He plays the gracious host and offers to escort Andros to the Nexus chamber.
Which leads to that eerie, brilliant detail during their walk through the palace.
Oh my gosh, yes. The Dreadnights are towering over the Ehyptians.
Right, they're massive.
To fit down the marble corridors, their cybernetic legs physically compress and fold inward. It allows them to walk single file.
That physical adaptation is a perfect encapsulation of what the text calls metaphysical cybernetics.
Because they aren't just wearing suits, right?
Exactly.
Right.
They aren't biological creatures wearing mecha suits, they are the suit.
Wow.
And the suit is an expression of geometric law. They can temporarily compress their physical form to navigate a primitive structure.
That they don't lose any power.
Right. They do so without compromising their functional superiority. It's an intimidation tactic disguised as accommodation.
Look how easily we bend to your tiny hallways.
Exactly.
So Andros gets to the Nexus, evaluates the portal, and leases his master scientist a dreadnought designated 810, or Okadega, to safely siphon its energy and dismantle it.
But Andros doesn't stick around.
No, he retreats to his private chambers on his hovering flagship to make a call to his boss.
And this is where we get a massive expansion of the universe's lore.
Yeah, he initiates a holographic transmission to Network Command.
The Overseer, on the other end of that transmission, is a fascinating morphological contrast to the Dreadnights.
It's so weird. Describe him for us.
We see a dark green creature with 7 fingers on each hand, eye stalks, wearing a neon work suit.
A neon work suit.
Yes, and he's surrounded by screens displaying the infinite verse.
It's such a jarring image. You have these terrifying geometric shadow cyborgs, and their boss looks like an interdimensional middle manager in high-vis gear.
It really highlights the bureaucracy of it all.
Right, and they converse in an alien tongue like "Muvin tuk anak latte" before the frequency translates for our benefit.
And they are discussing something terrifying.
The administrator ward theory?
Yes. Andros theorizes that Akhenaten isn't a human pharaoh at all.
Wait, really?
He suspects Akhenaten is the flesh incarnation of a rogue entity known as Administrator Ward, originating from the Shadow World.
Which would change everything.
If true, this changes the entire threat assessment.
The stakes they discuss are astronomical. If Akhenaten ruptures the quantum fabric, it wouldn't just destroy the planet.
No, it could create massive world gateways.
The Overseer explicitly warns that this rupture could summon the World Eaters.
The World Eaters.
Now, the text leaves them somewhat ambiguous, but if the universe is a sterile, perfectly ordered office building, these things sound like the wrecking balls swinging outside.
Precisely. The Dreadnought's police order. The World Eaters represent the absolute hungry void of chaos that exists outside of that order.
Just waiting to get in.
If an administrator-level entity intentionally breaches the whole of the verse, it lets the predators in.
And the Overseer is terrified of this.
He warns Andros that confronting an entity of Ward's magnitude could spark a massive Dreadnought civil war, destabilizing Universe 471 entirely.
Okay, I have a massive problem with Andros's logic here. Yeah. If you are an emotionless, perfectly logical cosmic auditor, and you discover a threat that could literally end the universe and summon World Eaters.
Right.
Why wouldn't you instantly call in the entire multiversal armada?
That is the big question.
It's like an IT guy finding a catastrophic, network-destroying malware virus on a corporate server, but instead of calling the cybersecurity team, he tries to fight it line by line himself because he wants the credit.
That is the exact paradox of the Dreadnights.
It makes no sense for a machine.
Well, we assume, because they look like machines and speak in hollow tones, that they are devoid of ego.
But they aren't.
No. Andross's decision reveals a deeply ingrained, almost biological flaw.
Hubris.
Hubris in a cyborg. The Overseer tells him the Universal Overseer and Dimensional Monitor, the UODM, is preparing to intervene.
And Andross says no.
He actively rejects the help. He demands to retain jurisdiction over the sector and investigate personally.
So he's proud. He wants the glory of solving the anomaly.
More than that, he fears obsolescence.
Oh, interesting.
If he calls in the UODM, he admits he cannot control his assigned sector.
And for a control freak.
Exactly. For a being whose entire existence is defined by control and order, admitting a lack of control is a kind of psychological death.
Wow. So he chooses to risk the universe rather than suffer a blow to his jurisdiction.
He does.
And that hubris is the exact blind spot the Ehyptians exploit. Let's go back down to the planet, into the Nexus chamber.
Where Okadega is.
Right. Okadega, the master scientist, is left alone with Atinatkin and Commandant Tenhut. He's ostensibly supposed to dismantle the portal.
But instead of working, this supposedly unfeeling machine opens up.
He reveals a stunning secret history.
He outlines the theology of the verse.
Which is wild coming from a robot.
He speaks of Titan and Omega. At the origin point before what he calls the Forge effect, there was infinity.
Okay.
Titan and Omega constructed the template of realities. Titan created the Dreadnoughts to serve as overseers.
To maintain that rigid mathematical balance across the infinite layers of perception?
Yes. But Okadege admits he is defective.
He tells the Pharaoh that buried deep within his psyche, like beneath layers of network programming, is a hidden code.
A fractured memory.
Yeah, a desperate longing to return to the Omega, which he describes as the non-physical realm of pure creation, the idea space.
He violently despises his cybernetic servitude. He calls his existence an inversion of his true being.
Think about the weight of that for a second.
It's massive.
You have a machine designed to enforce rigid physics, suffering from an acute case of existential dread.
He doesn't want to measure the universe. He wants to return to the source where the universe is imagined.
But why would Atinatkin trust this? I mean, he's a masterful paranoid ruler.
He is very paranoid.
An alien weapon of mass destruction lands in his living room, its boss goes upstairs, and the weapon immediately says, actually, I hate my job, want to team up. It sounds exactly like a trap.
It would sound like a trap to anyone but Atinatkin.
Why?
Because the Pharaoh operates through Mijik, which is driven by willpower, belief, and narrative.
Ah, so he can sense the truth in it.
He recognizes the authenticity of Okanega's desire, because Atinatkin himself is driven by an insatiable desire to touch the non-physical realm.
So he sees a kindred spirit.
A kindred, albeit mechanical, spirit. Atinatkin immediately capitalizes on this vulnerability.
He makes a deal.
He offers Okadega and any loyal defectors passage to the Omega Realm in exchange for their help in conquering the dark lands of Senhel.
It's high treason against the multiverse. And Okadega seals the deal by saying, "Hail, Atinatkin."
A huge moment.
But they have a massive hovering problem. Ambassador Andross is in orbit with a high ship housing 600 battlecrafts.
They can't just ignore that.
No, they need a tactical workaround, which leads to Okadega's hypercube plan.
Such a brilliant sequence.
I need you to break down the mechanics of this because it's a fascinating blend of magic and physics.
Okadega utilizes the ambient light and energy in the chamber to physically manifest a tesseract.
A four-dimensional hypercube.
Right. Now, we have to understand how a 4D object interacts with 3D energy.
Okay, lay it on me.
He takes this small 6-inch blue cube and links it to the Ehyptian well.
The well is a massive magnetic ocean of pure magic that Atinatkin controls.
Exactly.
So he's using a geometric impossibility as a battery for magic.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. A three-dimensional container would shatter under the raw pressure of that much magic.
Right.
But a hypercube folds inward on itself endlessly. It can store a near infinite amount of 3D energy by displacing it across a fourth spatial axis.
That is so cool.
Okadega's plan is to siphon a massive charge from the pack show, will carry this overloaded hypercube back to the flagship, and detonate it inside the ship's generator.
The iridium core.
Yes. The detonation will forcibly unpack all that 4D compressed energy into 3D space instantaneously.
Completely incapacitating the Legion.
Exactly.
It's brilliant because it uses dreadnought geometry to weaponize Ehyptian magic. So Okadega executes the plan.
He heads back to the ship.
He floats up the atmospheric light beam into his shuttle, carrying this armed cosmic bomb. He docks at the massive hive ship.
The tension here is palpable.
Oh, it's thick. He takes an elevator up to the core room. The doors open to the towering iridium hub, and Andros is waiting for him.
Andros knew.
He knew.
He states, the iridium core, Okadega.
Yeah.
He had been monitoring his scientist's psychological metrics.
So nothing is a secret from Network.
Right. He knew Okadega's hidden code was active, and that he never intended to simply dismantle the Nexus.
What follows is a brutal, profoundly physical confrontation. And we need to highlight the shift in mechanics here.
It's very different from Earth.
Down on Earth, we see sweeping magical spells. Up here on the flagship, in a sterile environment insulated from magic.
It is raw, unadulterated metaphysical cybernetics.
It's a battle of anatomy.
Andros doesn't attempt to argue. He raises a purple energy blaster and fires directly into Okadega's shoulder.
And the text is very specific. It describes rupturing ether and disintegrating metal.
This isn't just physical damage.
No.
The purple energy is actively unwriting the structural integrity of Okadega's physical form.
Oh, wow, like deleting his code.
Precisely. He shoots him again in the leg, dropping Okadega to the floor.
And Andros stands over him and delivers the ultimate threat. He says he's going to sever his parts and send him back to the Nine Worlds for reprogramming.
And for a biological being, death is the ultimate fear.
Right.
But for a dreadnought suffering from a fractured, returning memory of his true self,
Reprogramming is far worse.
it's the complete erasure of his soul. That specific threat is what pushes Okadega past his physical limitations.
Okadega, with a shattered shoulder and a useless leg, physically launches his massive cybernetic frame at the ambassador.
He tackles him.
He tackles him, knocks the energy blaster away, and pins him to the floor. He rips the blaster from Andros's grip and unloads.
Just brutal.
He shoots Andros in the leg, systematically severing the cybernetic joints, and then fires 2 point-blank bursts directly into his sternum.
And bright, glowing blue and purple fluid leaks onto the floor.
It's the visual of a machine bleeding.
Andros, realizing he has been physically bested, tries one last logical appeal.
What does he say?
He warns Okadega that this action will destabilize the local universe, that the UODM will hunt him down to the ends of reality.
But Okadega is beyond caring about universal stability at this point.
He really is.
He arms the Tesseract, the red lights flash, emitting a high-pitched frequency. He drags himself up, hangs from the iridium core by one arm.
And places the hypercube directly on it.
Yeah. He looks down at Andros and gives him the exact math. 185 seconds before detonation.
Very precise.
Then Okadega drags himself out, destroys the elevator controls, and leaves Andros stranded.
Leaving Andros with no option but to activate a localized homing beacon.
Knowing his command ship is about to be ravaged.
And that he will be left drifting in the vacuum of space, utterly defeated by his own subordinate.
I gotta ask, does Okadega feel any guilt here? He just brutally dismantled his commanding officer and doomed hundreds of his kin.
It's a complex psychological state.
Tell me about it.
He lacks traditional biological empathy. I mean, he isn't weeping for Andros.
Right.
But his actions are driven by a desperate, overriding mandate to break free from an oppressive system.
It's survival.
He explicitly tells Andros he would rather face destruction than return to the dystopia Network has built.
It's a cold calculation, yes, but it is fueled by the survival instinct of his returning consciousness.
He is amputating a diseased limb to save the host body.
That's a great way to put it. So the Tesseract detonates. Down on the surface of Earth, Atenatkin and his commandant are actively fighting the remaining dreadnought sentries.
They're using concentrated magic to turn the alien ships into raining molten debris.
And suddenly, the sky shifts again. 5 primitive Finn Ehyptian shuttles enter the airspace.
It's Okadega.
It is. And he isn't alone. He has brought over 100 dreadnought defector soldiers whose hidden codes were also awakened by the disruption.
This creates an unprecedented alliance.
You have the Ehyptian army, flesh and blood soldiers wielding reality-bending magic, now flanked by over 100 towering, indestructible cybernetic monoliths.
Atenatkin immediately redirects this combined force toward his primary objective, the Darklands of Senhel.
The visual of that march must be staggering.
It's epic. But Senhel is not undescended.
No, the intelligence reports vastly underestimated the local fauna. The army is ambushed by the Ehyptia.
The Ehyptia are terrifying.
The text describes them as ravenous insectoid horrors native to the swamplands. And there aren't just a few hundred.
No, the army is completely surrounded by over 14,000 of them.
The Ehyptian commanders immediately panic. Flesh and magic have limits when faced with a biological tidal wave of that magnitude.
But Okadega remains perfectly serene.
He turns to the Ehyptians and says, "We are built to enforce balance amongst an archive of dimensions."
There's profound, almost dark irony here.
What do you mean?
You have these cosmic beings engineered to police multiversal string theory and contain quantum anomalies, being forced into the role of intergalactic exterminators.
The pest control of the gods.
Oh.
And we finally see the dreadnoughts unleashed in open combat. They don't just fire standard projectiles, their actual anatomy weaponizes.
Yes, the text details how they morph their arms into jagged, spiraling drill vortexes.
How does that even work against an organic swarm?
Well, those aren't just physical drills spinning metal, they are localized kinetic engines.
Oh, okay.
When a dreadnought forms a drill vortex, it is actively twisting the local gravitational and physical space immediately in front of it.
So they fire otherworldly weaponry that doesn't just cut the Ehyptia.
Right. It violently vaporizes their biological matter, turning massive swamp trees into splinters as collateral damage.
They hold the defensive line with absolute terrifying mathematical efficiency.
They slaughter the swarm effortlessly.
It proves that a localized biological threat is mathematically irrelevant to beings designed to fight universe-ending anomalies.
This overwhelming victory allows the army to push deeper into Senhel.
But as they venture further into the Darklands, they encounter an architectural glitch that defies even the loose laws of Ehyptian magic.
The manifestation of Dark City.
Right, they are marching through this bleak, cursed swamp, and suddenly an entire futuristic metropolis materializes out of thin air.
The Dreadnought sensors record the event. It appeared in exactly 0.0431 seconds.
If magic requires willpower and casting, how does an entire city just pop into existence in a fraction of a second?
It suggests that Dark City wasn't built, it was transposed.
A transposition.
It's a multiversal overlap. The boundaries of reality in Senhel are wearing dangerously thin.
Probably exacerbated by Outnotkin's use of the Nexus window.
And the detonation of the Hypercube. A city from a completely different timeline or adjacent dimension simply fell through the cracks and overwrote the local geography.
Outnotkin halts the army and sends a recon team to sweep the glossy black streets.
The team consists of Krelon,
who is Okadega's dreadnought adjutant, right?
Right. Another dreadnought named Eryducal, and a Thulan magistrate named Exaxtor.
They are exploring these empty, towering structures when they stumble across something deeply familiar to the dreadnoughts in a dark alleyway.
The Cyberliths.
Eryducal immediately scans them. He identifies their compounds and states they are synthetics belonging to Corporation 447, a deviant enterprise.
It's a crazy moment.
Wait, Corporation 447? Are we talking about interdimensional late-stage capitalism?
It's an incredible piece of world building that casually expands the universe.
I love it.
Network isn't just fighting magical anomalies or rogue gods. They are actively engaged in a multiversal war against rogue corporate entities.
That's wild.
Corporation 447 operates across dimensions, likely exploiting local realities for resources.
Which network categorizes as severe deviancy?
Yes. The presence of their cyberlifts confirms that Dark City was pulled from a timeline deeply infected by this corporate war.
The collision of concepts in this single alleyway is it's wild. You have an ancient Ehyptian magistrate, two cosmic tax auditors, and rogue interdimensional corporate synthetics, all staring at each other.
And the combat is over before it begins.
Eryducal doesn't attempt to arrest them. His visor emits a rising charge, a light blue pulse of concentrated energy, and it instantly vaporizes the cyberliths. That instant eradication proves that even though these dreadnoughts have defected from network, their core combat protocols regarding recognized universal threats remain entirely intact.
True. But while the soldiers are fighting, this entire journey through Senhel is having a cascading psychological effect on Okadega.
Which brings us to the philosophical core of this entire narrative. Okadega's vision.
As they march, Okadega receives a massive, overwhelming influx of data.
From network.
No, he realizes instantly it isn't a transmission from network. It is an intervention from an entity referred to as the progenitor of consciousness.
The ultimate creative force of the verse.
Yes. Okadega experiences a profound revelation about his own origin.
And he projects this vision for Atenatkin to witness. What exactly does he see?
He sees the tragic truth of the dreadnoughts. Long before they were encased in geometric armor, before they were bound by Network's rigid code.
What were they?
They were not enforcers, they were dream painters. They were the literal architects of reality.
Oh, wow. The imagery he projects is heartbreakingly beautiful. He shows these organic, swirling green and purple portals that his ancestors used to forge entirely new realities out of pure imagination.
They didn't police the universe, they painted it. They were artists.
But the vision shifts to the fall.
Right. A howling vacuum, a torsion of oppressive dark energy invaded their space.
A dark hive mind with glowing eyes descended upon the dream painters. It violently smothered their creations.
It forced these fluid, free-thinking artists into the rigid, agonizingly strict cybernetic shells of the dreadnoughts.
And the leader of this dark hive mind personally approached him, stripped him of his true name, Okadeka, and branded him with the numerical designation 810.
It's an atrocity of identity.
The universe's most ruthless, unyielding auditors used to be avant-garde creators before their souls were crushed and weaponized by cosmic management.
Exactly. Their entire existence isn't just a job, it's an ongoing, agonizing imprisonment.
That realization completely recontextualizes Okadega's alliance with Atenatkin. Because if you view Atenatkin through the lens of Network, he is a dangerous anomaly that must be deleted to maintain stasis.
But if you view Atenatkin through the lens of the progenitor of consciousness,
he is an engine of growth.
The progenitor desires creation, narrative, and the expansion of the dream.
So, by allying with the Pharaoh, Okadega isn't just staging a political rebellion against a bad boss.
He is embarking on a spiritual crusade to reclaim his stolen identity as an artist.
He sees Atenatkin's chaotic magic as the exact tool needed to shatter Network's rigid control over reality.
Exactly. And this crusade faces its ultimate physical test when the army finally reaches the heart of Senhel.
They are confronted by Vivek, a colossal, multidimensional titan.
Vivek is terrifying.
He's massive, with transparent gray skin, glowing blue veins, and silver rings pierced through his face.
The dreadnoughts open fire with heavy artillery. They unleash hundreds of blue energy volleys a second.
But Vivek generates neon green auras that simply absorb the impact. He is a localized god of this domain.
And Vivek doesn't fight alone. He manipulates the environment itself.
He summons the warband of the wind.
3 massive twisters, literal towering tornadoes, suddenly spawn on the battlefield.
And out of these violently spinning storms pour hordes of minotaurs and Gothic warriors, striking the Ehyptian army from behind.
It's a chaotic, multi-front slaughter.
This is where we see the dreadnoughts utilize their most conceptually fascinating weaponry. Krylon and 2 other dreadnoughts assess the tornadoes.
They know they cannot shoot wind with energy blasters.
Instead, they fire multidimensional orbs.
Let's break down the physics of these orbs. The text says they are hypercubes that fold inward.
Right.
How does folding space delete a tornado?
Well, a tornado is a massive concentration of kinetic energy operating within 3-dimensional space.
Okay.
The multidimensional orbs act as localized black holes of spatial geometry.
So when they fire it into the storm...
When fired into the center of the storm, the orb folds the local space-time inward. It essentially creates a dimensional vacuum.
Oh, I see. It violently pulls the kinetic energy of the storm out of the 3rd dimension and traps it in a higher spatial axis.
The storms convulse, shudder, and are completely vaporized because their physical energy is literally relocated out of reality.
It's weaponized math.
That is so cool. With the storms deleted, the combined might of Atenatkin's magic casters and the dreadnought artillery finally overwhelm Vivek.
The Titan's auras shatter. He falls, and the Darklands of Senhel are secured.
The battle is won.
And in the aftermath, Atenatkin honors his bargain,
He prepares to open the pathway to the non-physical realm, the Omega.
allowing Okadega and the surviving defectors to finally return to the source of creation.
But right before they leave, Krylon, Okadega's loyal adjutant, approaches with a highly unexpected request.
He asks to stay behind on Earth.
Why?
Krylon explains that through the crucible of this war, he has developed a profound affinity for this chaotic, biological world.
He likes the messiness of it.
He no longer wishes to police reality, nor does he wish to return to the pure idea space of the Omega.
He wants to remain in the physical world and observe humanity. He wants to experience the unpredictability of life.
Okadega understands, but he delivers a chilling, pragmatic warning.
What does he say?
He tells Krylon, one way or another, they will find you.
Because network does not forgive deviancy.
Krylon is a rogue asset, and eventually, the Armada will track his signature. His time is finite.
But Krylon accepts that. He chooses a brief, finite existence of genuine freedom over an eternal existence of sterile servitude.
It's a profoundly human choice made by a machine.
It really is. Which brings us to the very end of the source material. After Okadega departs and Krylon stays, the text shifts.
To a highly cryptic, speculative final scene.
Written entirely in the first-person perspective, leaving the narrator's identity intentionally ambiguous.
The narrator describes stepping into a magnificent white octahedron temple, its floors checkered in black and ocean blue.
They approach a central throne, sit down, and willingly slip into a dreaming state.
As they enter this trance, the physical architecture of the room falls away.
It expands into an infinite open plain beneath dark blue skies. In the distance, they see a pristine white castle overlooking crashing coastal waters.
They feel a physical breeze, they hear footsteps drawing near.
And they realize they are standing on the very border between worlds existing entirely inside someone's dreaming state.
It is a masterful, evocative conclusion. It forces the reader to synthesize everything we've discussed about observation versus creation.
So we have to speculate here. Who is sitting on that throne? Is it Krylon, the auditor who stayed behind, finally learning how to utilize Ehyptian magic to experience a true dreaming state for the first time in his existence?
Or is it Atinotkin, having conquered Senhel, finally transcending his physical form to commune directly with the progenitor of consciousness?
The brilliance of the ending is that the specific identity is secondary to the thematic resolution.
Exactly. For eons, the Dreadnoughts were denied the ability to dream. They were violently forced into a state of rigid, unfeeling observation.
Conversely, the Ehyptians utilized magic to dream wildly, chaotically bringing new realities into existence.
This final scene, this tranquil dreaming state on the border between worlds, represents the ultimate realization of the progenitor's design.
It is the perfect, harmonious marriage of observation and creation, whether it is a machine reclaiming its soul or a human king ascending to a higher plane.
It proves that the verse is meant to be an infinite theater for dreams, fundamentally free from the cold, unyielding arithmetic of network.
It is the ultimate victory of the artist over the auditor. We spent this deep dive exploring a universe constantly tearing itself apart between the chaotic, beautiful mess of boundless creation and the cold, unyielding grip of cosmic bureaucracy.
It's a lot to process.
It is. And it leaves you, the learner, with a profound question to mull over. When you look at the grand architecture of your own life, are you acting as an enforcer of rigid rules, simply executing the programming you were handed?
Or are you a dream painter, willing to break the boundaries of your reality to build something new?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the verse. Until next time, keep questioning the code.